The passing of Gilles Lupien after a long battle with cancer in recent days drew a lot of interest from fans of the Montreal Canadiens, and especially fans of their affiliate, the Nova Scotia Voyageurs. Now, Gilles was a key part of a back-to-back successful Voyageur team that dominated the AHL in the mid-1970s. So what I'm doing today, in tribute to Gilles' memory and his family, friends, and colleagues, is to look back at that 76-77 Voyageur team, but specifically as well that campaign, which was one of the best in AHL history. Now, unfortunately, the league lost 2 teams prior to the campaign, and the divisions were dissolved. 6 teams returned, and he played 80 games in the schedule. Now, the FG Teddy Oki Trophy was awarded for first place in the regular season, and the John D. Chick trophy is not awarded. The Nova Scotia Voyageurs repeated as first overall in the regular season and won their 3rd Calder Cup championship. Now, prior to the season, the Richmond Robins ceased operations, the Baltimore Clippers transferred to the Southern Hockey League, and the Providence Reds were renamed as the Rhode Island Reds. Now, the Voyageurs were dominant in the regular season. They had almost a plus 100 on the goal side. Just like the big club, Montreal won 60 games in the regular season and 12 in the playoffs that year. Nova Scotia, this campaign, dominant for sure. 52, 22, and 6, with 308 goals for and 225 against. Now, New Haven was second with 92 points with 43 wins. Rochester third with 42 wins, 89 points. Hershey was fourth, 78 points on 36 victories. Springfield had 28 wins for 57 points. And Rhode Island, last but not least, with 54 points on 25 victories. Now, this season was quite interesting. Nova Scotia didn't dominate the top of the scoring sheet for best overall. It was Andre Pelofi of the Indians, ended up with 99 points that year, including 42 goals. Other key players that season was Eddie Johnstone, Doug Gibson, MVP, of course, Tom Colley, Blake Dunlap of New Haven as well, Pierre Mondu of the Voyageurs, who had 89 points, including 44 goals, 71 games, and Rod Shutt, the very underrated forward from later from Montreal and Edmonton and Pittsburgh, with 84 points in 80 games. Now, Nova Scotia knocked off Hershey in the first round, while New Haven knocked off Rochester, and Nova Scotia knocked off Rochester in the final to give them an even 80 wins in the regular season and playoffs. Again, most valuable player was Doug Gibson of the Americans. Palafi was a Salinger Trophy winner, top scorer. Rookie of the year was Rod Shutt. Defenseman of the year was the great Brian England, the future Stanley Cup winner. Lowest goals against average was the rival Voyageur tandem of Ed Walsh of Ellen Blast of the Voyageurs, the Hap Holmes Memorial Award. And Coach of the Year went to former Stanley Cup winner Al McNeil, as well as he was guiding the players in the minors. Now, other awards, most outstanding executive, Frank Mathers. Of course, my colleagues were celebrated as well for outstanding media coverage. For newspaper, the great Steve Summers and Bruce Whitman of Hershey. Leo McIsaac, great radio voice of Voyageurs, won the award for transmission, and Rick Funky of Rochester won the television media award. Now, just to recap the Nova Scotia team that year, ladies and gentlemen, some of the better players that came up in Montreal were in the system. We had Mondu, Shutt, and Pat Hughes, very underrated player. Peter Lee, the great Mike Polish, who ended up being a star in the States for a number of years. Gord McTavish, Ingram, Jim Cahoon, Chuck Luxa, very underrated defenseman. Paul Woods, the great Detroit player later on. Don Housey, Bruce Baker, Ron Wilson, the very underrated Harold Filipoff. Jules Lupien, of course. Greg Fox, great defender. Mike Busniak, one of the tougher defensemen of his generation. Kelly Greenback, Cliff Cox, the great Dave Shand, of course, in Atlanta system. Ellen Blass, Maurice Barrette, and Ed Walsh. Now, at the end of the season, Ellen Blass, Walsh, and Barrette had averages under 3, but it was Ellen Blass had the better record, 21-7-3 with 5 shutouts, only one empty netter. Ed Walsh had 26-12-2 with 3 shutouts, and Maurice in the spot duty, 5-3-1 with 2 shutouts. Now, the key for the Voyageurs that year, although some of the players did get called up that year. Some did not. But to see a young Pierre Mondu do so well in the minors, he was considered a poor man's Guy Lafleur at the time, and we finally arrived in Montreal. Boys, he really augmented the Flying Frenchman aspect. But Gilles Lupien won, of course, the penalty minutes crown that year, and he really came into his own. And I think the 69 games he played that year was the last, what do you call, chance he had at the big club, and eventually made the big club because he was there several years. But ladies and gentlemen, what's kind of interesting about this, Montreal had a very young team in Nova Scotia. Rochester at the time was only 19. There was a whole bunch of 20-year-olds. By my memory, I think Ed Walsh was the oldest player on the team at the time. Lupien was 22. Gordon McTavish was 22. Pat Hughes was only 21. Mondu had just turned 20. So, I mean, a young team, a talented team, and again, a lot to talk about. And what's kind of ironic, ladies and gentlemen, this was almost an all-Canadian team. They had a few players from the States, and of course, Peter Lee, born in Chester, England, one of the better players in NHL history to be born in England, even though he wasn't trained there. But just to recount this, ladies and gentlemen, Mondu had 44 goals, shot at 33, Hughes at 29, Peter Lee at 33, Gordon McTavish at 30, Paul Woods at 20, and Polich 19, Caroon 18, House at 13, Baker at 17, Wilson at 15. So a very balanced attack. When you have nearly four full lines with more than 10 goals, and the defenders put up a lot of counters that year because England had 8 goals, Lux had 9, Lupien had 6 big counters. Every time Lupien would score, drew a big crowd of fans near the boards, as we say. But if you have a chance, see if you can find the tape of the 1977 season on YouTube, all the AHL. That was sort of the last gasp of the old AHL before, again, the Franklin Express, the Moncton Hawks, Cape Breton Oilers, Golden Flames came in. So it was the last. Nova Scotia dominated AHL before the New Brunswick dominated AHL followed. And this was called, I used to call it the Nova Scotia era of the AHL before, again, the New Brunswick era occurred. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing, and if you liked our tributes to Gilles Lupien and the other great players in the 1970s on our channel, please let us know, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, hockey is much more than just statistics. To get to the NHL is a big honor. Players like Jill, who toiled in the minors and finally made it, got their name in a cup, 2 Calder Cups and 2 Stanley Cups, because the Montreal system were developing these great players. And even though Peter Lee and Schott and Pat Hughes found better success elsewhere, they needed that development system of the very, very positive 6-team AHL. Again, you'll never see a major league like that only have 6 teams. That's the last original 6, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening. Bye.